Alex. Oh, not yet. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Two people are connected. Hi there. Thank you for joining. Thank you for stepping by. Yeah, I've done a few episodes about Chinese history, and today I'm going to do a summary of Chinese modern history from the century of humiliation till these decades. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining, and we're going to start soon. Thank you. Yeah, I can see Lucian here, Octavia. Hi. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. I can see someone even subscribed. Thank you so much. I wasn't expecting that. This channel of mine is too small, and I thought I'm gonna talk alone. And thanks a lot. I can see 6 people joining here. Yes, for those who don't know me, my name is Ahmed. I'm somebody who spent a few years in China and traveled around Europe and the United States, Canada. And here I'm going to talking about China, its history from the century of humiliation till today. Yeah, this big country that is going to take our world a century ago is called the sick man of Asia. And today, within 100 years, China not only developed, but it's going to be the superpower. So I did 3-4 episodes talking about Chinese history because China is becoming increasingly important for everybody. And if we want to know where China is heading, we need to know where China came from. And that's why I'm here. So I'm not going to go back and talk about dynasties. I'm going to talk about modern China history. So from the 18th, 19th century. So from the two Opium Wars. We know China in the 19th century, it was a dynasty. So the Qing dynasty. And in 1839, Britain waged war on China. So it's called the Opium War, 鸦片战争. In Chinese, it's called 鸦片. 鸦片 is opium, 战争 is war. So the first Opium War, they waged on China. And you know, the war wasn't against, it is because of drugs. And it is not about, it is not against the drug. It was a war waged because of drug. So Britain wanted to sell drug to China. China refused. The Qing dynasty said no, and at that time, Britain forced China to open its market, so that British can bring their opium and sell it to China. And China was forced because Britain has a lot of weapons and it was already a modern country. So they forced China, they obliged China, beat it, and then China accepted it, humiliated. And again, they took Hong Kong from China at that time. Thank you so much. Somebody subscribed here. So they took Xianggang, Hong Kong, that they took it that time and gave it back only in 1997 from that time. And again, 10 years later, Britain again waged a second war, Opium War, 鸦片战争, the second one. And yeah, again, more territory have been taken from China. And China was humiliated. And in 1894, Japan invaded China. Yeah, Japan, we just modernized, invaded China and humiliated China and taken Taiwan from China in 1894. So that war was from 1894 to 95, and Japan won, China was defeated. And 2-3 years later, there was a revolution that rose. It's called the Boxer Revolution. Yeah, but now if you check in any search engine, they will tell you a rebellion. But normally, thank you so much. Somebody saying cool. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So it is called the Boxer Revolution. 义和团运动. It is called 义和团运动 in Chinese. So those people rose up. They were against any foreign invasion, but they had no power. And again, they were crushed. And that time it was even worse. 8 powers, they came together. They formed an alliance, which is called the 8 alliances. In Chinese, this is 八国联军. 八国联军. Ba is 8 in Chinese, and guo is guojia, which is country. 联军 is an alliance, and jun is jundui, which is soldiers or an army. So they came together. They are Britain, Russia, the US, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and Austria-Hungary. So they came together and waged war on China. They humiliated China. And it was even worse. They imposed fine and reparation on the Qing dynasty. That was in the end of the 19th century. So Qing dynasty had no choice but to accept this reparation. They paid it. They took land. They obliged China and imposed some reforms on Qing dynasty. So they abolished some Chinese old school things, and then again they obliged the Qing dynasty to reform its army. They created a unit which is called Beiyang Army, Beiyang-jun. So the head of the Beiyang Army is Yuan Shikai. The name of the general is Yuan Shikai. So remember this man's name. He is going to be somebody who is going to lead China. So that was in the beginning of the 19th century. But a few years later, we need to know that there's a man by the name of Sun Yat-sen. His Chinese name is Sun Zhongshan. He was in exile in Japan. He is a doctor. So this man, Sun Yat-sen, he started a secret society in Japan, which is called the Tongmenghui, an alliance. And his aim was to overthrow the Qing dynasty and to start a republic, a Chinese republic. That was in 1905. He was in Japan. And 3 years later, the Empress of China passed away in 1908. And again, 3 years later, in thank you so much, thank you guys. In 1911, there was a revolution in China, which is called the Qinghai Revolution. Qinghai Geming. So Qinghai Geming is a revolution in Chinese. So they stood up, these people, they rose, and they wanted to overthrow the Qing dynasty. So with the help of the Beiyang army, the elite unit led by Yuan Shikai, these people drove away Qing dynasty, and they came together. And in 1912, they proclaimed the first Chinese republic. Sun Yat-sen came, and they formed the Chinese Republic. But Sun Yat-sen has to step back and leave Yuan Shikai to lead the country. And Yuan Shikai turned out to be a very bad dictator. So he drove away Sun Yat-sen, and at some point he even proclaimed himself an emperor. So Sun Yat-sen had to go back to exile, and Yuan Shikai passed away 2-3 years later, and Sun Yat-sen came back. So at that time, China was divided. So every piece of land is taken by a warlord, and they were fighting. So Sun Yat-sen came back, and he chose his first lieutenant, a guy by the name of Chiang Kai-shek. So that's the guy who started Taiwan, if you remember. So his Chinese name is Jiang Jieshi is Chiang Kai-shek, his first lieutenant. So that was in 1916, and they were fighting. They were the Republic, and there are other warlords, so they were fighting. But 3 years later, at the Treaty of Versailles, the Allies who won the World War II, the World War I, they came in France, they gathered, and they gave Shandong a city in China, a very important city in China that was seized by Germany. So Germany was defeated in the war. So they took this piece of land, Shandong, which belonged to China. Instead of giving it back to China, they gave it to Japan, and that sparked anger among the Chinese. So Shandong is a piece of land that belonged to China, seized by Germany. And when Germany is defeated, the Allies took it. Instead of giving it back to China, they give it to somebody else. And you need to know that China was among the winners in the World War II. It helped the Allies. So they got angry in 1919 because of the Treaty of Versailles. And from at that time, you need to know that the Soviet Union started a revolution in just 1917. So it is next door to China. And young people started learning from what's happening in Russia at that time, Soviet Union. So these people are Chen Duxiu, Li Dazhao, and there is a young man by the name of Mao Zedong. He was in his 20th at that time. So 3 years later, these people, they gathered in Shanghai, and they started a secret meeting. There were only 13 of them. So Chen Duxiu, Li Dazhao, Mao Zedong, and 10 other attendees. They met in Shanghai in 1923 on July 23rd. They created the Chinese Communist Party that day. So later on, the nationalists of Tongmenghui, which became the Kuomintang, which is Kuomintang, led by Sun Yat-sen and his lieutenant Chiang Kai-shek, they came together with the Communist Party, which is led by Chen Duxiu, Li Dazhao, and Mao Zedong. They came together because they have to resist to invaders and to resist, fight, and then get their independence. So they came together in a front called the First Front in 1924. They were fighting together. But sadly, in 1925, Sun Yat-sen, the father of Chinese Republic, he passed away. So when he passed away, naturally, his lieutenant took the lead, Chiang Kai-shek, Jiang Jieshi. He was the head of the nationalists. Sorry. So that guy, as soon as he took the lead, he started having issues with the Communist Party, because the Communist Party is loved by the Chinese people. And this influence that they're getting is disturbing Chiang Kai-shek, Jiang Jieshi. So in 1927, Chiang Kai-shek purged them in Shanghai. Thousands of Communist Party's members. They have been persecuted. So some have been killed and others have been arrested. And they had to flee, scattered around the city. And in 1931, Japan, in September 18, 1931, a day that Chinese call it 9·18事变. 9·18事变, 9, which is 9, 18 is like 18, which is 18. So that day, Japan did a false flag operation. They blew up a section of a railway and used it as a pretext to annex China, to take a piece of land which is called Manchuria. So this is the northeast part of China, Manchuria. Later on it's called Manchukuo. So this part, Manchuria, which is today Heilongjiang, Liaoning, and Jilin, those parts. So Japan invaded it and took it. And that's why they use this operation. It is 9·18事变. But despite that, Chiang Kai-shek, he sees the Japanese invading his country, but he believed that the communists are his worst enemy. So he said that he wanted to first defeat the communists before going back and fight the Japanese. But Mao Zedong believed that they first need to defeat the invaders and to settle their problems. So in 1934, the Communist Party had to flee where they are and to a place which is called Shanxi, Yan'an. So they have to live and work miles every day for 1 year. So it was 13 months, from 1934 till 1935. It is called the Long March. So the longest march a rebellion or revolution did in the history of humankind, maybe. So they had to leave and go. And the communists, the nationalists were following them and persecuting them. So it took a year. They went very far away and started establishing their bases and then learning guerrilla warfare and to fight. And here, Japan is invading, and Chiang Kai-shek is going to fight Mao Zedong and his troop too. So in 1935, Mao Zedong, after the Long March, he came out as undisputed leader of the Communist Party in Yan'an base. They said, yeah, subscribe. How old are you? Oh, thank you so much. Somebody's asking me how old am I? So, thanks a lot. Yeah, I'm almost 40. What do you think? It's like, my hair is gray, so yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, so Mao Zedong went there and he became the head of the Communist Party. And Japan was invading, taking piece of land, and Chiang Kai-shek here. And everybody's telling Chiang Kai-shek, you need to come together with these guys, the Communist Party, and to find Japan. And he just don't want to listen to this. And in 1936, in Xi'an, a city in China which is called Xi'an, they call it Xi'an 事变, which is Xi'an incident. Chiang Kai-shek generals, 2 of them, they kidnapped him and forced him to accept to make a second front, a united front with the Communist Party, and to fight. And he had no choice but to accept it. So they came together and met the second front to fight the Japanese. That was in 1936. And in 1937, Japan even went a step forward. So in July 7th, in an event called Chichi Shibian, which is 7/7 incident, Japan started a full invasion of China. They started by Beijing, which is Peking. They invaded Beijing, which fell after a few days, and then went to Tianjin, a city I lived for years. So Tianjin is not far from Beijing, and Japan invaded it and seized it. So they took Tianjin and went again to Shanghai. So what is Iran? It's like somebody's writing Iran here. And no, I'm saying Japan. Sorry. So they went and attacked Shanghai. Shanghai resisted for over 3 to 4 months. The Communist Party and the Nationalists came together in defending Japan. But again, you need to know defending against Japan, and you need to know that Japan was very powerful at that time. Japan Air Force has almost 3,000 aircraft that dispatched in Shanghai. They were bombarding. And China only had around 200 aircraft at that time. So they cannot fight against the Japanese. They need to use guerrilla warfare tactics. So, no, Iran. No, I'm not talking about Iran. Somebody's talking here. No, it's history of China. So Chinese history, I wrote the title, is modern Chinese history. It's not about Iran. I made videos about Iran, so you can check it down there. This is about China. Thank you so much. So Japan finally defeated them and took Shanghai. And then they headed to Nanjing. Nanjing, which was the capital of China at that time. Nanjing was in the past too, in the Ming Dynasty, it was the capital of China. And later on, from 1924 to 34, it was the capital of China too. So Chiang Kai-shek, who was at that time the chairman of the Chinese Republic, had to move his capital from Nanjing and go to Wuhan. So he left there. And when the Japanese entered, understand the low increases. So when the Japanese entered Nanjing, they did very horrible things. It was one of the worst massacres of the 20th century. They killed hundreds of thousands of people, raped women, children, beheaded a lot of people. It was just atrocities. Some people might say that it was around 300,000 people, civilians, that have been killed by Japan in Nanjing, so which is called in Nanjing Datusha. Nanjing Datusha in Chinese is Nanjing Massacre. So they invaded Nanjing and they took Nanjing, and the Japanese didn't retreat till Japan went and attacked Pearl Harbor, United States, and then the United States came to Japan and bombarded Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They nuked them. They used an atomic bomb. And that's where Japan had to retreat and surrender. So Japanese invaders, they left China, but China didn't see peace again. The Communist Party and the Nationalist Party again started fighting. So the civil war in China resumed. And from 1845, after the Second World War, when Japan was defeated, the Communists and the Nationalists started fighting. They fought for 4 years. And in 1949, the Nationalists have been defeated and they were pushed till the island of Taiwan. So Chiang Kai-shek and his men had to retreat. They fled and went to Taiwan, and Mao Zedong started gradually gaining cities, and he went on October 1st, 1949 in Tiananmen Square, and he proclaimed the People's Republic of China, PRC. So that was October 1st, 1949. So that's China today. And so again, after that, when the nationalists have been defeated and Japan is being defeated, it started again something else, which is the Korean War. So that was 1949. And 1950, North Korea attacked South Korea. And then when they pushed them, the United States engaged in the war. So they engaged in the war, and North Korea had to retreat till the border with China. And China again came to the rescue of North Korea. And they fought for 3 years. So the Korean War started in 1950 till 1953. When it ended, and it ended in an armistice, it is the most militarized border in the world, even today. So, and again, later on, the Chinese friend who was Joseph Stalin passed away right after the Korean War. He passed away, and Mao Zedong lost a friend at that time. So, and when Nikita Khrushchev came to the power, he took the Soviet Union. He wasn't that good of a communist for Mao Zedong. So there is a split between China and the Soviet Union in 1956. So Nikita, when he came, he wanted to change a little bit and then to align with the West. So he criticized Joseph Stalin. He criticized it, and Mao Zedong took that personal. He thought it's a challenge for his power, and Stalin is his friend. So he accused Nikita Khrushchev to be a traitor. So there is a split between China and the Soviet Union at that time. So China was never not helped by the Soviet Union. And Mao Zedong came back, and he started what is known today as the Great Leap Forward. Great Leap Forward, which is in China, it is Daiyuejin. It was a disaster. So that policy didn't work. He wanted to industrialize China in a very short period of time, which was ended in a disaster. Millions of people have died. And again, he didn't stop there. He started the Cultural Revolution in 1966. And it was a very bad policy later on too. That also killed hundreds of thousands of Chinese. So Mao Zedong, later on, he stepped back. He wasn't that out there, and left other people. They understood the law. Let me slice a law. Thank you, somebody saying. So Mao Zedong, he left somebody else to lead that time. So in 1976, Mao Zedong passed away. In September 1976, Mao Zedong passed away, and in January that year, Zhou Enlai, somebody who was supposed, he's the prime minister, the premier of the CCP, he also passed away. And there is a guy who was the head of the army, of Chinese army. He was supposed to succeed to Mao Zedong. He passed away a few years earlier, in 71. So that gave the chance to someone else who was known as Deng Xiaoping. So the architect of Chinese modern economy. That guy, he stepped in and took the lead. So that Deng Xiaoping is a Chinese man. He was born in China in 1904. And he moved to France to study and work there in France when he was very young. And it is in France that he was introduced to Marxism and socialism in France. And he started embracing Marxism. And he met Zhou Enlai in France. Later on, they moved back and joined the Communist Party of China with Mao Zedong and others. So they fought. And in 1976, when Mao passed away and Zhou Enlai passed away and Lin Biao passed away, that gave him a chance to step in and take the lead. But he wasn't the chairperson. He wasn't the chairman of the Communist Party. He was a de facto leader. Yeah, he was a de facto leader, and he was given the chance to lead China. But the chairperson of the Communist Party at that time was Hua Guofeng. Huagofeng was the leader from 76 till 81. So when Deng Xiaoping stepped in, the first thing he did is in 79, he went to the United States. He met the president of the United States at that time, Jimmy Carter. He met him, and the same year, the United States recognizes the PRC, People's Republic of China, and they established diplomatic relation with China. The US and China established diplomatic relation, and when he came back, Deng Xiaoping, he started the boldest move in China's history, which is called the 改革开放. 改革开放, which is the reform and opening up. So China used to be closed and not open to foreigners and investors. But Deng Xiaoping, he opened China to the world, so investors can come and invest in China. And he created this, and he allowed private enterprises, so Chinese can start working for themselves. And also he created special economic zones, which are Shenzhen, Zhuhai, Shantou, Xiamen. Those places, the taxes are really low. So foreign investors, especially from the West, are welcomed in those places to come and invest. And that gave huge opportunity for Chinese to be employed and started making China rich very soon. So this policy helped very well China. And Deng Xiaoping, who was considered the father of Chinese economy, or Chinese modern economy, his pragmatic philosophy can be captured in his famous saying, which is 不管黑猫白猫，捉到老鼠就是好猫. I will repeat it. 不管黑猫白猫，捉到老鼠就是好猫. Which means it doesn't matter whether a cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice. It's a good cat. So people are pushing, it's like communism and socialism, we need to get. And he was telling Chinese, don't be stuck on ideologies. You need to be open-minded. You need to choose what works well for China and help China get rich, develop, and get stronger. That's what he said. So he opened to the world. And his policy helped China to get like almost 10% GDP for many years. That's what made China what China is today. So this man, again, he allowed foreign investors to come to China. He started special economic zones, and he started trading with the outside world. Yeah, you can see somebody here. Wow, somebody saying love you. Hey. Oof. Thank you. Somebody's still around. Yeah, that was Deng Xiaoping policy. He really helped China. And again, he made sure, though he helped China grow its economy, but he made sure everything is under communist control, because he even criticized Gorbachev, the leader of Soviet Union at that time. He thought Gorbachev changing policy, the Soviet Union policy shifting, is a very bad idea. For him, Deng Xiaoping, he think a country first need to fix its economy before changing any politics. So though Deng Xiaoping was very good to China, helped China get rich, but he made sure that everything was under the Communist Party control. That was what is called today as 中国特色社会主义. 中国特色社会主义, which is socialism with Chinese characteristics. That's what we hear today, 中国特色社会主义. So he made sure, despite being open-minded, he was in the West learning and fighting. He developed China, but he made sure that everything is under Chinese communist control. So at that time, so that man led China to this path of development. till China today. But again, Deng Xiaoping, we need to know that in his time, in 1989, that's Tiananmen Square event happened. Yeah, and later on, he had to step back. And we need to remember something. Deng Xiaoping wasn't only good in terms of economy. He was very good, a very good veteran. He fought the Japanese. He was very brave. He was in the first front fighting, and he fought the Japanese as well as the nationalists. And later on, he came back. And in his time that he started requesting from Britain to give them back Xiangang, which is Hong Kong. So Xiangang was taken, we said it earlier, Xiangang was taken from China in during the first war, Opium War. So Deng Xiaoping started talking with British government at that time with then British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. He talked to her, and they came together and met almost 20 times. The Chinese and British delegation, they met over 20 times. They agreed to give back Hong Kong, Xiangang, to China, and they gave it back to China in 1997. They took it during the Opium War. They gave it back to China. Sadly, they gave it the same year Deng Xiaoping passed away. He just passed away a few months ago, before handing over of Xiangang, Hong Kong. And he talked to the Portuguese government too about Macau, Auman. Chinese call it Auman, and Hong Kong is Xiangang. So, and later on, Macau was handed over to the Chinese in 1999. All that is because of Deng Xiaoping, and he passed away. So we are going to stop here, and if somebody is having a question, you can pause it here. And later on, we can, we can keep our episodes or our live stream later. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Thanks a lot, everybody who joined. And I don't know from where you're joining, guys. It's 9 p.m. here, and thanks a lot. I wasn't expecting anyone to join because this channel of mine is very small. And yeah, I can see 5 people still watching. Thanks a lot. That's very kind of you, and thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I will keep doing live streams about China and Chinese history, modern Chinese history, and maybe we can go back and talk about ancient Chinese history too. So from the dynasties and later on. But we need to learn about China because China is going to lead our world, whether we like it or not. And if we want to know where China is heading, we need to know where China came from. That's one of the reasons I chose a few years ago to go and live in China for many years before leaving China. Yeah, that's it. So we have no choice but to learn Chinese history, to learn Chinese language, maybe if we need it, because this century and the coming years are going to be a Chinese century. Thanks a lot. Yes, please. Can you guys tell me, where you watching from? I see somebody's writing here, Iran. Somebody saying, I understand what, the law what, and others are saying, somebody's saying, I love you. Thank you so much. So, and somebody's asking, how old are you? Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, that's it. And please, if you can tell me, what do you want me to do later on? What live stream do you want? Chinese language, maybe we can start learning Chinese in live stream, or history of China, or talking about, especially about Mao Zedong, Mao Zedong, or Deng Xiaoping, or Hua Guofeng, or Zhou Enlai, or Xi Jinping. All these leaders, I took time to learn about them, their history, what did they study, and the Chinese Revolution and ancient Chinese, modern Chinese history. So you can leave a comment and tell me what do you want me to talk about next time. Hey guys, can you hear me please? I can see 4 people watching here. Thanks a lot. Thank you. If you want to know anything about me, about what I'm doing here, Chinese history, or later on, what is my aim with this channel, or you want to know anything about China, Chinese language, or how to study Chinese, or how to travel to Chinese, or where to stay in China, yeah, I'm glad to try my best to answer these questions. Thank you. So guys, thanks a lot. I think no one is having any questions. I don't see anyone typing anything here. And yeah, if you have questions, you can ask me. You can leave a comment telling me what do you want me to talk about next time, maybe tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, in the next live stream. Yeah, anything you want me to talk about, yeah, I will start talking about Chinese history, Chinese economy, and if you want to live in China, what's the difference between China, Europe, United States, and Canada? Because I lived in all these places, luckily. I'm an African, yeah. I was born and raised in Africa, moved to China, moved to Europe, moved to America, moved to Canada. So I live in all these places. And if you are curious and you want to know about Chinese history, ancient history, modern history, and Chinese language, you can let me know and I will tell you. Just like our episode we just did, Chinese modern history from the century of humiliation, which is 百年国耻, which is the century of humiliation in China, which started in 1839, the first Opium War. I'm doing a summary. And the second Opium War later on. And then it's followed by the invasion of Japan in 1894 and again 1895. So that's the first Sino-Japanese war. Chinese call it 抗日战争, 抗日战争. Kang is 抵抗, which is to resist. 日 is 日本, which is Japan in Chinese. And 战争 is war. So 抗日战争 is a war against Japanese invasion. So the first one is in 1894 and 1895. Japan defeated China and took Taiwan that time. And later on, there was a revolution, which is called the Boxer Revolution, 义和团运动. So they rose up, but they were crushed by 8 alliances, 8 powers. They came together, Russia, the United States, the Britain, France, Austria-Hungary, Italy, Germany, and Japan. So these 8 powers came together. They formed what Chinese call 八国联军. 八国联军. They invaded China, humiliated China, beaten China, took piece of land from China, and they imposed reparation on China. So with all that, Chinese had to pay them millions, and that made Qing dynasty very poor. That was in the end of the 19th century. So from that time, and again, not only they imposed reparation on China, they imposed reforms on China. So they abolished some traditional Chinese thing. And again, they forced China to form a unit, a contingent called Beiyang Army, Beiyang-jun. And the head of that army is a general by the name of Yuan Shikai, Yuan Shikai. So that man, he later on became the Chinese leader. And 5 years later, a Chinese guy in exile in Japan by the name of Sun Yat-sen, Sun Yat-sen, his Chinese name is Sun Zhongshan. He was in Japan. He started a secret society, if you want to call it, which is called the Tongmenghui. His aim was to overthrow the Qing dynasty in China and to start a republic, the Chinese Republic. That was in 1905. He was in Japan. So 3 years later, the Chinese Empress empress passed away, and 3 more years, in 1911, a revolution started, Qinghai Revolution. Qinghai Revolution started, Qinghai Geming, and that was the cause, the reason Qing dynasty was overthrown. So this man, Sun Yat-sen, he came to China with the help of the Beiyang army and its leader, Yuan Shikai. They came together and overthrew Qing dynasty. So Qing dynasty was overthrown. Sun Yat-sen had to leave Yuan Shikai, lead China. That was right after the creation of the first Chinese Republic, so 中华民国, in 1912. So Yuan Shikai, when he took power, he became a very bad dictator. So he drove away Sun Yat-sen, and he even proclaimed himself a self-proclaimed emperor. But he passed away in 1916. So Sun Yat-sen had to come back. He came back, and again, he started fighting. At that time, China was divided into pieces of land and then led by warlords. So Sun Yat-sen came back, and he chose his first lieutenant, a guy by the name of Chiang Kai-shek, the first leader of Taiwan, Chiang Kai-shek. So this guy came, he was a soldier, and Sun Yat-sen chose him to be his first lieutenant. That was around 1916. So they started fighting. There were like the government and other warlords fighting them. But 3 years later, at the Versailles Treaty, the Allies, those who won, the victorious after the World War won, they took Shandong, which is seized by Germany, and instead of giving it back to China, they gave it to Japan, and that sparked anger among Chinese people. So Chinese rose up, and this created the 五四运动, 五四 运动, which is the May 4th revolution. And in 1919, that was after the Versailles Treaty, when they gave Shandong to Japan instead of giving it back to China. And you need to know that Shandong is the hometown of the great Chinese thinker, Confucius, Kongzi. The great Chinese thinker, Confucius' hometown is Shandong. So at the Versailles Treaty, the Allies, they took Shandong, they gave it to Japan, and this made Chinese get angry. And among these people who rose up, there were few intellectuals like Chen Duxiu, Li Dazhao, and a young man by the name of Mao Zedong. So they started coming together, and 3 years later, in 1924, on July 23rd, 1924 in Shanghai, they gathered secretly. They had their first meeting. So there were only 13 of them, Chen Duxiu, Li Dazhao, and Mao Zedong, and 10 other attendees. So they formed the Chinese Communist Party that day, on the 23rd July 1923. So later on, the nationalists, who were led by Sun Yat-sen and Chiang Kai-shek, and the communists came together to form the first united front and to fight the Japanese invaders and others. So they came together. But sadly, in 1925, the father of the first Chinese Republic, Sun Yat-sen, passed away, and his lieutenant took power. When he took power, he started purging the Communist Party, Mao Zedong and his men. And in 1927 in Shanghai, they killed a lot of Communist Party, and the communists, they just scattered in other cities, and later on they had to flee. So in 31, Japan blew up a railway and used it as an excuse and used it as a pretext to attack China. Yeah, no one is watching here. I'm doing film tradition. Anyway, I can see two people here. So Japan blew up a section of a railway and used it as a pretext to seize Manchuria. Manchuria, which is Manchukuo, the northeast part of China. They seized it. This part is today Heilongjiang, Jilin, and Liaoning. Japan took it, used this false flag operation as a pretext to take it. That was in 9·11事变, so September 18, 1931. But the nationalists of Chiang Kai-shek, instead of fighting the Japanese invaders, he always thought the communists as his worst enemy. So he wanted always to fight them. And in 1934, the Communist Party, the CCP, had to flee to Shanxi, Yan'an. So they had to work for 1 year, which is known today as the Long March. So from 1934 till 1935. When they arrived in 1935, Mao Zedong came out as an undisputed, the undisputed leader of the Communist Party in Shanxi, Yan'an. And he gathered his men and started learning. Yeah, they learned everything. They came closer to the civilians, and they had like new recruits, and they started training guerrilla warfare and all these tactics. And the nationalists are still fighting them and fighting the Japanese too. That was in 1935. But Chiang Kai-shek generals in 1936 in Xi'an, they thought that is foolish. They had to come together with the Communist Party and to fight the Japanese. So they had no choice but to kidnap Chiang Kai-shek himself. So his generals kidnapped him and forced him to accept to fight, to come together with the communists and fight the Japanese. So that was called the Xi'an incident, Xi'an 事变. So Chiang Kai-shek had to agree, Jiang Jieshi, and come with Mao Zedong and his men, and they formed the Second United Front to fight the Japanese. And very quickly, Japan went on full-scale war against China. In Chinese, they call it 七七事变, which is the event of July 7th, 1937. So Japan attacked Beijing, which is Peking, and they seized Peking and went to Tianjin, which is 120 kilometers. And again, from Tianjin, they went to attack Shanghai. And Shanghai resisted over 3 months, but yeah, they had no choice but yeah, to seize it too, because Japan was very powerful. It was maybe the third or the fourth most powerful army at that time. They had, in 1937, they had almost 3,000 aircrafts. They dispatched them, and they were bombarding Shanghai. And at that time, China only had around 200 aircrafts. So Japan took Shanghai, and they headed to Nanjing, which was the capital of China at that time. And Chiang Kai-shek and his men had to retreat from Nanjing and take the capital and move it to Wuhan. So when the Japanese entered Nanjing, they did the Nanjing massacre, which is Nanjing Da-tu-sha, which was one of the worst massacre in the 20th century, if it is not the worst. So hundreds of thousands of civilians have been raped, murdered, and yeah, all the atrocities that you can think of. So the Chinese had to retreat from Nanjing, and again, Japan kept going on, but Japan went on to attack Pearl Harbor, and when the United States entered the war and bombarded Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they used atomic bomb. Japan surrendered and retreated from China. So that's what left Japan like helpless. They cannot fight anymore. But the war didn't end. Chiang Kai-shek, his men, and Mao Zedong men had to come together to resume the war. So the civil war in China started again from 1945. after the Second World War. So they started fighting for 4 years again at the Kuomintang Nationalist and the Communist Party. They fought, and in 1949, the Communist Party drove them away, drove the nationalists till the island of Taiwan. So Chiang Kai-shek had to flee with his men to Taiwan, and Mao Zedong gained all the cities and came to Beijing, Peking, on October 1st, 1949, and he proclaimed the PRC, People's Republic of China, and on October 1st, 1949. And just 1 year later, the Korean War started. The United States was helping South Korea. 你在说中国时代历史吗？对啊，哎，有人，哦呀，对，有人就这样，哦呀 ，I'm still master， 呀，对，我在说中国时代历史，对，是的，哦，finally， 哎呀。Yeah, oh, somebody saying, oh, 你好 ，so sorry, yeah， 哎，我才刚到了，对，我在说中国，对，哎呦，哇，say hi to me， 哎，是应该的，没什么，是应该的，没有，我估计您是中国人的，我在中国待了5年的，所以我也。You're welcome. It's like, yeah, I'm glad to do so. I lived in China. I have a lot of Chinese friends. I studied there, so I have to do it. I love it. 对，是应该的，不用说谢，对。Thanks a lot. 估计您是中国人啊，是不是？对吗？可能没听到啊。对，好的，那好啊。对，我在中国待了5年呢，我在成都待了2年，还在天津里待了3年。对，所以可以讲中文的啊，还有可以我学习中国历史。对，哎，谢谢现在退步的很多。以前说的还好，现在好几年没有说中文，所以不行。对，没机会联系，所以越来越退步。Yeah, I'm still master. Great. So that's it. So the Chinese helped North Korea. They call it 朝鲜战争. So they helped North Korea, and that war lasted 3 years, from 1950 to 53, and it ended in an armistice, and it was till today the most militarized border. So between North Korea and South Korea, Hangul and Chaosian. So later on, Stalin passed away right after the war. And when Nikita Khrushchev came to power, that guy, he didn't like Stalin that much. And Mao Zedong felt betrayed. Mao Zedong think that guy is a traitor because he doesn't like Stalin. And China and the Soviet Union started splitting. So there is a breakaway between China and them. And then China went to the policy of the Great Leap Forward. So the Great Leap Forward, which is Daiyujin, wasn't a good idea. Yeah, though we love China, but sometimes we have to criticize. So Daiyujin, and again, after that, Mao Zedong introduced the Cultural Revolution. Cultural Revolution, which is in 1966 to 76, 文化大革命, which wasn't that good too. So after that, Mao Zedong in 76, after the end of the Cultural Revolution, he passed away in September. And Zhou Enlai passed away in January, that same year. And Lin Biao, who was supposed to substitute to succeed to Mao Zedong, passed away in 71. And that gave the chance to Deng Xiaoping to step in. Deng Xiaoping to step in and then lead China in a completely new direction. So Deng Xiaoping, he is a Chinese born in China in 1904. He moved to France where he studied and worked there. And it is in France that he embraced Marxism. He was introduced to Marxism, socialism, and embraced it. And he met Zhou Enlai. And later on, he went back to China and joined the Chinese Communist Party along Mao Zedong and others. So they started the revolution. He was a veteran. He fought very well. And then he started changing China. So when he came back and he had the chance to lead China, we need to remember that Deng Xiaoping was only the de facto leader of China. At that time, the chairperson, the CCP Zhuxi was Hua Guofeng. He was the chairperson. And Deng Xiaoping was the de facto leader. So in 79, Deng Xiaoping went to the United States. He met with then President of the United States, Jimmy Carter. And that same year, Jimmy Carter came, Washington recognizes the PRC and established diplomatic relations with China. But Deng Xiaoping, he did something great, which is the 改革开放. 改革开放, which is the opening up and reform. That helped a lot China. He did that. He allowed foreign investment, and he created special economic zones, which are Shenzhen, Zhuhai, Shantou, Xiamen, and later on even Shanghai and other cities joined. So that helped China because these special economic zones, the taxes are low, and foreign investors, especially from Western countries, they came to invest, and Chinese can work there, and the Chinese government with having a lot of benefit from it. So that helped a lot of China, and because of this, thank you, the decade from 6 was a decade of policy mistake. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Somebody here is telling me that the decade from 1966 to 76 was a decade of policy mistake. Yeah, I always said it. And last time I was talking about it, and somebody was saying to me that why you only talk nicely about China. You cannot criticize China. I'm allowed to criticize China. China did a lot of great things we have never seen before, and everybody can make mistakes. I always said, even yesterday somebody said to me that, who is better? Is it like Mao Zedong or Deng Xiaoping? I said everybody is the best in their right time. Mao Zedong was the best Chinese leader in his time. He is a man, he made mistakes. So this Daiyueqin and Wenhua Dagoming are mistakes. Yeah, we recognize it. But if you put any leader in Mao's time, from 1923, 25, the Long March, and all these places, the fighting, no one can do better than Mao Zedong. Yeah, but if you take Mao Zedong and you place him in the 70s till the 90s, where the era that Deng Xiaoping led China, yeah, Deng Xiaoping is better. That's how China is good. China had the chance to have the best leader in the right time. That's the difference. So Mao Zedong did the best thing. He traced everything. He led the foundation for China today. But he made, yeah, that's what somebody's saying here. I'm a SEAL master, yeah. So the decade from 66 to 76, yeah, it's a mistake. And Chinese learned a lot from it. And Deng Xiaoping came to help it. But people still have to be very grateful to Mao Zedong and Mao Zedong. He is the one who took China from 1923, 35, 40, all these fights, he did them. So, yeah, Deng Xiaoping came, and again, yeah, he changed this. And his policy allowed China to grow its GDP around 9 to 10% for many years. That helped China. And his philosophy, his pragmatic philosophy, can be captured in his famous quote, which is 不管黑猫白猫，捉到老鼠就是好猫，which is it doesn't matter if a cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice. So this is Deng Xiaoping telling Chinese it's not about communism, socialism, or capitalism. It's about what is good for China. So don't stuck on ideologies. I've never experienced turbulent time. Nice. Yeah, that's for sure. If you're very young, I lived in China a little over 10 years ago. That's true. China is one of the best place to live in now. Security likewise, and I think, yeah, that's true. So I guess you're very, I have never experienced a turbulent time. Not turbulence at all in China. Yeah. And all this is a mistake. And China had to pass this time to become what it is today. So we were saying Deng Xiaoping is telling 不管是黑猫白猫捉到老鼠就是好猫 which is it doesn't matter whether a cat is black or white as long as it catches mice. So he's telling Chinese people don't stuck on ideologies. So just choose what works well for China, and the aim should be China can get stronger, richer, and yes, the implemented economic reform and all. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, somebody saying that yes, they implemented economic reform, and it is the 改革开放, which is the policy Deng Xiaoping came with, and it was the best, the miracle that oh well. Yeah. Liberated again. Okay. That doesn't hear me. 哎，你在说重庆啊？那你是不是在说那个打仗时间啊？我现在在说改革开放。哎，不好意思，您可以再说一遍吗？我现在在说的是我说的是70年代、80年代啊。您说的是以前嘛？是打仗时间是国民党和共产党。Yeah, so that was it. And Deng Xiaoping was not only good in terms of economy, he helped China even in, yeah, I know, I said Deng Xiaoping, liberated production. That's true, that's true, that's true. He was great. And again, he was very good in terms of diplomacy too. It is in his time, in 1984, that Deng Xiaoping started talking to the British government, and he met with the Prime Minister at that time of Britain, Margaret Thatcher, and he started talking about Xiangang, Hong Kong. Hong Kong, which is took by Britain after the Opium War,鸦片战争, Britain took Hong Kong, Xiangang from China, and Deng Xiaoping started establishing this talk, and they gave it back in 1997. So Xiangang went back to China. Sadly, it's just a few months before the death of Deng Xiaoping. And again, he talked to the Portuguese government too about Macau, Auburn, which is given back to China in 1999. So that's what Deng Xiaoping did, his legacy. It's not only about economy, but also about diplomacy. He gave back 2 Chinese cities, Xiangang and Auburn, Hong Kong and Macau, gave it back to China from Portugal and Britain. He established relation with other countries. He started allowing China to allow investors from outside. He created special economic zones like Shenzhen, Zhuhai, Shantou, Xiamen, and later on Shanghai and dozens of cities joined that. He helped China to change its policy so that to get rich. That's what he did. And I have to be fair and need to mention something. He did all that but he made sure everything is under the government control. And at some point, in fact, China from 1949 was similar to present-day Korea. Oh, wow. present-day Korea, are you saying it's South Korea or North Korea? 朝鲜还是韩国？你说那个1949还是能告诉我吗？谢谢。Oh, North Korea. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, somebody's here telling me, thank you so much. He's saying that in 49, China was similar to North Korea now. And that's true. China came from far away. And we need to know that China, a century ago, China was treated by a lot of Western countries. It is even called the sick man of Asia. Can you believe it? And China, in 100 years, achieved what the West achieved in 400 years, in 4 centuries. China just achieved it, and now soon China is leading the world. It's just astonishing. We've never seen such a change. So that's it. China came from very far away. I left China in 2019. Went back in 2020, just a year, and I can see the change. So China is amazing. So I was saying Deng Xiaoping, that's all he did, but he made sure that it's under the government control. And he even criticized Gorbachev. When Gorbachev tried to change Chinese, Soviet political system, Deng Xiaoping was very smart, and he said to him that a country's economy should be fixed before its political ideology. So that's Deng Xiaoping. He did a lot of things. He passed away in 1997, a few months before the handing over of Xiangang, Hong Kong, and Auman 2 years later. He passed away, and yeah, that's it. And he is the father of the modern Chinese economy. He is the one who came up with the socialism with Chinese characteristic, which is 中国特色社会主义. 中国, which is China, 特色 is characteristics or distinguishing features, and 社会 is society, 主义 is ideology. So 中国特色社会主义 is socialism with Chinese characteristic. That was Deng Xiaoping. So some people might ask, who is better, Deng Xiaoping or Mao Zedong? And I can tell you, everybody is the best in the right time. That was China's strong point. Every leader, most of the leaders of China, they will come in the right time. Mao Zedong was the best one in his time. Later on, Deng Xiaoping came again, a de facto leader who led China in an amazing speed, and everything was just astonishing. And again, today, whenever I said these, people started criticizing me. Xi Jinping is just phenomenal, and he's doing a great job for China. That's it. And I think our live stream went for 74 minutes. Thank you so much for the 3 people here watching, and thanks a lot for all who joined, and thanks a lot for I'm Seal Master. I learned a lot from you, and I hope that I can read you again and learn a lot. Yeah, I learned a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for joining, and then I will keep uploading videos and yeah, going live, talking about China, ancient and modern history, and see China from a foreign angle. Yeah, because Chinese knows Chinese history and everything, but I got the chance to be born in Africa. I lived in the West for very long, in the United States. I lived in Europe. I lived in Canada. I lived in China. So yeah, I just try to compare this and see what's this. So there are a lot of historians and people who know China better than me, far. But I'm trying to see it from a different angle. As an African, born and raised in Africa, lived in different continents, including Asia and China. So that's it. Thank you so much, guys, and that's it. Here's 9:40 p.m. So 20 minutes to 10 p.m. And thanks a lot. Thank you. Thanks a lot for everybody who joined. Yeah, that's it. Once again, my name is Ahmed. This channel is very small. I wasn't expecting to have like people watching me stepping and then joining the live stream. And you guys just made my night. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you. When will you come back to China? Sure, I'm trying even to take my family and go live in China. Can you believe it? Yeah, I'm trying. I have like small babies. They're very small, and I'm trying. My biggest worry is like if I go to China, the school is a kind of problem. I have my oldest son who's studying in French. If I go to China, I need to choose carefully to live in Beijing so that I can find like a school in French, something like that. So I'm planning even to move, to take my family and go to China to live there. And especially in Chengdu, which is my first city. I loved living in Chengdu. Yeah, and later on I moved to Tianjin, which is close to Beijing. I used to go to Beijing like every weekend, just to take the high-speed train, go out here and then go to Beijing and come back. I loved every city in China, Shanghai, Guangdong, everywhere. But I really love Chengdu. Yeah, that's it. I'm really planning to just take my family and go and live in China. Yeah, in the near future. This is my biggest dream now for now. It's like I will go and live in China. Yeah, and even work on my Chinese. My Chinese used to be good. Yeah, when I was living in China, I only had a Chinese friend and I used to talk every day in Chinese. So at that time, my Chinese was super good, believe it. But yeah, I came back later on and moved to other places in Europe and United States. So I couldn't practice my Chinese anymore. And it's a language that, yeah, next time I visit a small town in China, I'll be able to experience that in China even more. Yeah, can I ask you please in the comment section here? I don't think you're living in China now. You must be living in the West too, right? Are you living in the United States or? Yeah, because China is too late in China now. So the fact that you are here means that you don't live in China. So can you tell me please, where do you live? Yeah, the changes China is just astonishing. You can go back to China in a few months or a year and you can see big changes. That's true. Oh yeah, people are joining. So we just finished our live stream and about modern history China. Yeah, I can understand English. I can't believe it. You write in English to me. How can you say you don't? It's okay. I can't understand English. Okay, you can talk to me in Chinese. Yeah, 你可以讲中文啊，你可以说中文，没问题，你可以说。You can talk to me in Mandarin. You can write in Mandarin. I can read it. It's okay. That's fine. So you can tell me. I was asking you 的，您是不是在西方啊？现在，您不是在中国吧？应该在中国现在太晚了。But I know you're talking about the history of China's change. Yeah, I was talking about Chinese modern history. Yeah. 中国历史从百年国耻到现在，所以鸦片战争啊，还有义和团运动啊，清代到现在，所以我就是讲的是中国历史，是吧？100年前的中国到现在，所以我在讲中国历史。对，我以为您讲中文呢，那你怎么听得懂啊？我一般都是说英语啊。Yeah, I'm in China. Wow. So you are in China right now. So it must be very late in China, right? 谢谢你。不用谢，是应该的，是应该的。我挺喜欢中国，对，我非常喜欢中国。我在中国待了5年，在不同的城市。我在成都待了2年，在天津待了3年，还有在我国在非洲，我和中国朋友一起工作了 在欧洲也见了中国朋友，现在和中国人可以打电话，我有不少的中国朋友，所以没问题的，我挺喜欢的。还有不知道怎么说呢，怎么加你微信啊什么的，我不知道。行的话，我可以留我微信号码。对对对，成都对，我在成都，我第一次城市就是成都，我在成都待了2年。对对，你要写的是不是天府成都天府广场？对，成都四川那儿，对，离重庆不远的，我在那儿待了2年。Are you in Europe? No, I'm in Canada. Right now in Canada, Montreal. Yeah，我在加拿大蒙特利尔。对。Now, how about you? Where are you in China? Are you in Chengdu, Shanghai, Beijing, 广东不知道在哪儿？可以告诉我吗？广西啊，那个我没去过但是我听说过，那挺好的，挺好的。好的。那你做什么？你工作还是你是学生啊？你在学习啊？学习啊，South China。OK。Nice。南方还有北方。我刚才说那个我在说那个，满洲国以前那个日本日本打仗的时候那个抗日战争，所以我说的是北方是辽宁黑龙江，还有working was born。Nice，we almost the same。我也是80我是86的。对，我是86的，今年呢39。对，所以我是86的。对，我是86的。但是头发都白了。哎，头发都白了。你是什么80年代可以的，还是很年轻啊。哦，OK，82，所以你比我大4岁。我86。对，我866月份30号。所以我快40岁，现在39。对。哦，感谢你啦，Thanks a lot，Thank you，but 你没看吗？头发都白了。I have gray hair. It's like I'm a dad, so I'm dad of a couple boys. 是啊，谢谢，非常感谢你，谢谢的。我头发很白的。对。哎呀，对，哎呀，挺好的，对。估计你比我大，但是应该看起来比我年轻的，是不是？嗯，那挺好的。那您告诉我你现在中国怎么样？你觉得好吗？我真的在打算可以带家人去中国。对，我挺喜欢那的生活。对，you can leave you reach out. Sure. Yeah, sure. I can read Chinese. 我可以的。你写吧，你可以打字的。那你发给我，你写上吧，你写您微信号码，可以吗？ 我打中文可以的，可以的。我最好。所以我写一下吧，你给我你微信号码好吗？微信号我不知道，我这里不能打字，我不知道，我试试，但是写不了，所以打不了。你可不可以给我你微信号码，这样我可以加你。OK， 这个是微信号码。好的，你写吧，我看不了。你说我这个是我微信号码，但是我看不了啊。上面的号码就是上面没有什么号啊，你写吗？Working, you look very young. Yes, you can leave your WeChat. Starting your complete. You can read. 上面写的就是我打中文呢，这个是我微信号吗？上面号码就是，那哪个号码？我看不见，我看不见啊！你写的是你打的是，我打中文你写，还有这个是微信号码，还有上面的号码就是，但是我看不了，没有这里我没有看见。I don't know, please. I cannot write it down. Can you write it down your Weixin number so that I can add you on WeChat? 我打中文。您的意思是不是我打中文就是你微信号码，是吗？Yes, please. If you can hear me, you can leave. Yeah, can't you see it? So strange. I cannot see it. I swear to God. And I tried myself. 我自己也要写我的号码给你，但是我写不了，不知道为什么。这里我能读的就是 I am from 1982. So 你说的是Yeah, you can leave your WeChat. I start my own company. That's all. That's all. 我打中文呢，我这个是微信号码，没有别的。Can't you see it? So strange. I swear to God, I can see it. I don't know why. 那你念吧，可不可以啊？你可以念，我写上，这样我可以以后可以我说念呢，你有没有？我真的我看不了你 number。I have already sent out the number. I swear to God, I don't see any number. 没有，我看不见任何号码，这里没有号码，不是啊，这里没有号码，没有任何号码，对，没有，没有，没有，没有，这里我能读的就是我打中文我这个是我号码，微信号码，还有上面号码就是我的，但是没有。对，我看你这里写等等 ，OK， 好的，你写吧，我写不了，我有微信，但是我写不了，所以你。我在等啊，好的，你随时吧，可以的，那个，等，不知道怎么加你的微信呢，我写不了，你也写不了，不然的话，如果你行的话，可以在我 YouTube在评论下面，你可以 留你的号码，微信号码也可以吗？我可以加你，如果行的话，可以的。还有别的人吗？还有 it's like I can see like 2 people watching. So yeah, there's a friend that I'm talking to him in Chinese Mandarin, and somebody else. So can I know who you are? Because we're talking about Chinese history, Chinese modern history. Yeah, from 1835, 40 till today, which is we started from the Opium War, the first one and the second one. What Chinese call it the century of humiliation. 百年国耻。哎，朋友，你去哪了？Okay, guys, thank you so much. I think no one is here, and we are going to close it. Thanks so much.